Hey guys, it's Spirit, and welcome to my first Smite video. Smite is a free-to-play MOBA-type game from Hi-Rez Studios, where you get to play as the gods and heroes of ancient mythology. And this video is going to be a god review of my personal favorite character in this game, Poseidon, god of the ocean. As you can see, I have the legendary skin on him because I am rank 7, and I like to consider myself pretty good with Poseidon. He is my favorite character in the game, as I said, and today I'm going to be showing you a little about how I personally use him. You don't really have to use him this way, but if you do, you'll probably do pretty good. So, his abilities here. His passive is called Changing Tides, and as he inflicts damage with his basic attacks, he gains Tide, which you can see down here, this meter here. And as his Tide meter increases, he gains additional ability damage and movement speed. So, I'm going to demonstrate his abilities later, but basically every basic attack that lands fills up his Tide, and the more basic attacks he lands, the more damage he'll do, and the faster he'll move. Back in the days of beta Smite, I used to build him movement speed, and I was so fast. I miss those days a lot. Hi-Rez, if you're watching this, please bring back Boots of Celerity. Everyone loved it, okay? Anyway, his first ability here is called Tidal Surge, and I'm just going to level up to 3 to show you his abilities here. Tidal Surge launches a tidal wave of water out in front of him that damages enemies and knocks them back, and it also costs 35% of his tidal meter. So your basic attacks charge up your Tide, and your abilities use up your Tide. So you've got like the push and pull of the ocean tides thing going on here, which is actually really cool. His second ability is a buff to himself that it's called Trident. His basic attacks, after activating this, his basic attacks, I'll show you right here, fires 3 basic attacks instead of 1. And it lasts for 6 seconds. It also gives you a movement speed increase, so if you're chasing somebody, you activate this, you'll chase them down probably. And it, obviously, firing 3 basic attacks instead of 1 gives you additional damage, which really helps to increase your Tide really fast. This is the most economical ability in terms of Tide. Because I'm not sure, but I think each one of those individual 3 basic attacks will give you the Tide bonus on hit, increase your Tide on hit. So, oops, sorry. Anyway, his third ability here is called Whirlpool, in which he summons a whirlpool around a ground target that will damage enemies over time and draw them toward the center. Now, this is really cool. This is your bread and butter ability here. This is what you're going to be using primarily. And it's also one of the reasons Poseidon tends to be difficult to counter, is because he can take up half of a lane with this. And it's really good area denial. It's crowd control. If you're being chased, you drop this at your feet, and it can stop an attacker from following you, because they get caught in the whirlpool. And it costs 25% of your Tide, which is a 4th, if you're not good at math. So, it does not have that good of damage progression, but that's because it deals damage over time to your opponent. And last but not least, certainly not least, we have Release the Kraken, his ultimate. A giant kraken comes up out of the ground in a pool of water. And as you can see here, there are 2 separate rings to this. The inner ring, where the Kraken itself is higher damage and enemies caught in that when the Kraken detonates, essentially, are thrown up into the air, skull being knocked up. And in the outer ring, you get less damage, and you're not knocked up, but you still take damage. And everything in the radius, I think, is slowed for 30%. I'm not sure if that's only the inner or the outer ring, but if you catch somebody in the inner ring of this, they're going to take some serious damage. So, that's his abilities. And the way I like to, when I'm starting out from level 1, I like to get his Whirlpool first. This is your level 1 ability, since you're going to be using it most. You drop this on a minion wave, and you can eat minion waves with that. It's not quite as high damage as your Tidal Wave, Tidal Surge, which I get second, because that's your main high damage burst, punch somebody in the face ability here. These two in combination can be devastating. So I get this one, I get Whirlpool first, and then Tidal Surge second. Trident I get third, and then there's my main 3 abilities. My 4th ability, before I get my ultimate, I put a 2nd point into my Whirlpool, because as I said, that's your bread and butter ability that you're going to be laning, zoning people out with. And then at level 5 you get the Kraken, and then you can yell, "Release the Kraken!" and wake up everyone in your house when you're trying to play Smite at night. Trust me, that's not a good situation to be in, unless you happen to be winning a game, which is always fun. So, and I generally, as I increase in points, your leveling up your ultimate, your Kraken, is your first priority when available. Then your second priority is your Whirlpool, then your Tidal Surge, and then your Trident. In that order, in my opinion. So, shall we try out some of his abilities? I know I'm leaving without items, I just want to show some of his abilities. Demonstration in combat before I get into his build. His Whirlpool makes the... Okay. Trident. Smack, smack, smack with the Trident. And then his Tidal Surge. And then finishing him off with Release the Kraken. So, as you can see, his abilities are... One thing I've noticed about Poseidon is that his abilities are opaque. They take up a lot of visual reference. His Whirlpool can hide things on the ground. His Tidal Surge is very distracting visually, and his Kraken takes up a lot of your screen. So, if you've got a Poseidon on you who is attacking you, you're going to have to focus to know what you're doing, because it's hard to see around him because his abilities take up so much of your screen. Now, as far as his items go, I like to build Poseidon Pure Glass Cannon. So my first item, I always get...
This will turn the tide of battle.
I always get Shoes of Focus. But I never get Shoes of Focus first. I always get Rank 2 Magic Boots. Magic Shoes. There we go. And then immediately go into building Bancroft's Talon. This item is... This is pretty much my staple mage build. Because Bancroft's Talon, there are a few items in this game that give you plus 100 magical power straight up. And I usually buy all of them. This also gives you plus 12 magical lifesteal. So you're healing yourself off of the damage you do. 12% of your damage is converted into healing for yourself. And Bancroft's Talon also gives you 1 additional magical power for every 1% of your missing health. So, as you saw when I was fighting Raw with no items, I got down to like half health, I think, roughly. So that would be 50% of my health gone, 50 additional magical power from Bancroft's Talon. And as I said before, I get the rank 2, and then I finish this last, because this is pretty much all the speed you'll need. And once Bancroft's Talon is built, I go into building Rod of Tahuti.
With this, the tides grow stronger.
Yes, they do. Because Rod of Tahuti gives you the highest base magical power in the game without stacking. Other items that stack up give you much higher magical power, and we'll get to those later, such as Doom Orb. But Rod of Tahuti gives you 125 magical power, which is the highest base stat of any magical power item in the game. Plus, it gives you an additional 25% magical power increase. So whatever your magical power is down here will be increased by 25% with Rod of Tahuti. That, and it gives you plus 15 mana per 5, which is mana every 5 seconds you gain 15 mana, which is good on a mage because you use mana to cast your abilities. My fourth item, I generally go for Soul Reaver here.
This will turn the tide of battle.
It gives you plus 100 magical power, plus 300 mana, which is always nice to have. And additionally, Soul Reaver gives you the passive ability that whenever an enemy god takes damage from one of your abilities, they take 15% of their health, their maximum health, as additional damage. So this ability can only be applied every minute, every 60 seconds. See the buff here? My next ability is going to do 15% of that target's maximum health as additional pure damage, which is really good if you're fighting tanks who have a lot of health, a lot of defense. It'll just burn through them. So, at this point, it's really up to you what you get from here on out. If you're up against people who have high defense against magic, you'd want a Void Stone or an Obsidian Shard for additional penetration to go through your opponent's armor. Or if you want more mana and power at the same time, you get Book of Thoth. This is the last item that I know of that gives you plus 100 magical power, in addition to some mana and mana regeneration. This item also stacks up mana. You gain additional mana per stack per kill, and it converts, let me see here, 3% of your maximum mana is converted into additional magical power. So, one of my friends who taught me how to play this game, who showed me this game, actually came up with a mage build that utilized this item and then stacking up lots and lots of mana, and he got really powerful, really high amounts of magical power out of this. Although my preferred build at full stacks gives even more. So, this is generally...
With this, the tides grow stronger.
Yes. And this is generally what I build on him, followed up by... There's two courses you can take here. Chronos Pendant, always a good item to have on a mage. It gives you a massive amount of mana regeneration. And some cooldown reduction, which is always nice to have on a mage. That's a viable option, but it's not the option I like to choose. There's two courses to go here. There is either the defensive safe strategy, which sacrifices just a touch of power for sustainability. And then there is the total glass cannon YOLO, kill me and it's over but I don't care mode, that gives you the highest magical power I have seen in the game without sacrificing your boots.
With this, the tides grow stronger.
Which I'll generally have completed by now. The only way to have higher magical power is to get both of these items and sacrifice your boots. But I generally get Warlock Sash. This item gives you stacks, again, up to 100 stacks. And I don't know exactly the math on the stacking items. I just know that Warlock Sash is slightly less than the other item that I'm talking about. But this is the one I usually get.
This will turn the tide of battle.
This gives you a massive amount of increased magical power, and it gives you a bit of additional mana and health, which is always nice to have on a mage. Makes you a little harder to kill. Not by much, but you won't die quite as easily with this. The other variation of this build is to replace the Warlock Sash with this Doom Orb. It actually gives you more raw magical power at full stacks than Warlock Sash, but it doesn't give you any of the additional health or mana. Well, it gives you a little additional mana, but not quite as much. And the thing that I don't like about Doom Orb, the reason I don't buy Doom Orb, because even though it gives you the most magical power of any item in the game, your stacks are lost. You lose half of your stacks when you die. So these two down here, Book of Thoth and Warlock Sash, you keep your stacks when you die. They carry over after you die, and you respawn with full stacks that you had before. But Doom Orb does not. If you die with Doom Orb, you lose half of your stacks, which I really don't like. And this build right here, the only way to get more magical power than this is to sacrifice your Shoes of Focus for something else, like Doom Orb. If you did this, I'm just going to show you what the build would look like.
With this, the tides grow stronger.
With this build right here, this is, and I have calculated this out, the highest magical power of any build in the game. Once you get full stacks on all of these, you will have the highest magical power base of any build in the game. So, if that's what you're looking for, this is the build for you. But, as I said before, I don't like Doom Orb, and I do not like sacrificing my boots. Because a slow mage is a dead mage, and Shoes of Focus give you plus 15% cooldown reduction, which isn't bad. It's a nice substitute for Chronos Pendant. Doesn't give you quite as much cooldown as Chronos Pendant, but it's respectable. Another item that you might consider putting on Poseidon that's really good is Gem of Isolation. Gives you a respectable amount of magical power, health, mana, but the cool part of Gem of Isolation, as any professional Smite player will tell you, is that enemies who are hit by your damaging abilities are 25% slower for 2 seconds. This doesn't seem like a lot, but in the game, 25% slower is like negating someone's boots. Because your boots only give you plus 18% movement speed. So with this, they're slower than they would be with no boots. And with a nice AoE area of effect slow already, this can be devastating on Poseidon. You drop your Whirlpool on top of somebody, they're going to be slow to a crawl, and they will not be able to escape you. But, as I said before, that's an additional item. That's a that's a situational item if your opponents are really fast getting away from you. That's something I like to get. Other items that you could potentially have on him, Polynomicon. Every time it gives you power, mana, lifesteal, and every time you use an ability, you gain 50% of your magical power is converted into additional damage for your next basic attack within 5 seconds of using an ability. So if I had Polynomicon, I use an ability on somebody, my next basic attack within 5 seconds has 50% of my magical power added to it as additional damage. Which, for a god like Poseidon, who has a basic attack buff like this, there are variations of Poseidon that focus on this ability, building attack speed and Polynomicon for additional power and speed. And that is a build, that is a version of this build that I like to do sometimes. It's not what I like to do all the time, because he's built for damage, in my opinion. He's built to do a lot of damage really fast, burst someone down with his abilities. But if you feel the need to build attack speed and Polynomicon, it is a viable build that you can use, and you can use stuff like Demonic Grip, Telekine's Ring, and among others. And these are defensive items. I don't really like to build defense on Poseidon. It's viable, I've seen it done, but not very well. So, as for active items, I always get on every god that I play, I buy Salvation, which is an AoE mana regen and healing buff for yourself and everyone in the area. So it's, if you're about to die and you're caught alone in enemy territory, or one of your allies near you is fighting and about to die, you can pop this and heal yourself and them, and it regenerates mana, and it's just an all-around good time. It is, as the title says, salvation. So, as for my second item, I usually counter-build my opponent, whether it be Aegis to defend against high burst damage, or Blink to get out of trapped situations, or Purification Beads to deal with high crowd control, or even Teleport to travel across the map fast. Those are my favorite active items right there. Purification Beads, Blink, Aegis, and Teleport. So I'll generally get one of those. And so, just to show you, I'm going to go around here and kill off some of these jungle camps to build up some stacks. See how potent that Whirlpool Tidal Surge ability can be. Ability combo can be. And on this one, you just use this. And you can burst people down so fast with this. You see on the bottom, I leveled up some of my abilities. I get an extra ability now. I already put one in Whirlpool, so I'm going to put one in my Tidal Surge now. I generally like to, I know some people who level up one of their abilities all the way, neglecting all their others, but I don't like to do that personally. I level up all of my abilities in sequence. I level up Kraken first, and then Whirlpool, and then Tidal Surge, and then my Trident in sequence, so I get all of them leveling up progressively, which seems to work out well for me. Yeah, Poseidon at full build can destroy things easily. He's not built to poke, he's built to commit. Because I see a lot of people just throwing down a Whirlpool like this, and then auto-attacking, which is good in and of itself. I wish the buffs, you could still have multiple buffs on. That was good times back in beta, but, you know, they changed everything. Hi-Rez, if you're listening to this, that's another thing you should change. Anyway, but Poseidon, in my opinion, is not built to poke. He is built to go all the way. He's built to go all the way, commit to the fight, unload everything you've got. This is the Gold Fury, so it's going to be a little tougher to kill, but
sink into the depths.
But yeah, he's built, in my opinion, to unload everything on his opponent all at once. Now, I've got some stacks here. I'm going to go over the minions and farm up a few more stacks. As you can see, my passive meter is full. I'm doing a lot of, I can move a lot faster. And my abilities do more damage, even though using my abilities is going to cost me Tide. See the zoning ability of Whirlpool. I can almost kill an entire minion wave just with that. But you can, in fact, clear an entire minion wave with your Tidal Surge. So, we wait for the next minion wave, and then I'll display that one to you. Minion wave is coming, and boom. You can clear an entire minion wave in one shot, and then have your Tidal... Why do I keep saying that? It's a Whirlpool. That's what I generally like to do, is have my Whirlpool for zoning out my opponent players, and I use my Tidal Surge for minion wave clearing. Because it's hard to land this on a moving target, but the minions just stand there and take it. So you use the Tidal Surge on the minions, and then you're free to have your Whirlpool for your opponents. And when you have your Whirlpool for your opponents, and your Kraken, you can pull the 3-4 combo that generally destroys whatever it's aimed at. Such as that. I love doing that to people. And if your opponent survives, whoops, if your opponent happens to survive the Whirlpool Kraken combo, There's always your tidal surge. And if they survive that, they won't have very much health at all, so you can pop your trident and chase them down. So this enemy bot Raw here doesn't level up like I do. He's still level 5, so he just barely has access to his ultimate, and he doesn't have any abilities built, so he's not going to be that big of a threat at all, because he's not... I'm a lot higher level than him, he's a lot weaker, he's got no items, but this is, on Poseidon, that is a respectable analysis of what Poseidon can do to somebody if he catches them off guard. Oh, at this point, I should probably point out that your Book of Thoth, your Warlock Sash, and Doom Orb, as we mentioned before, gain 1 stack each for killing minions, but they gain... let me see here. Yeah, they both gain 5 stacks each. I don't know about Doom Orb because I don't use it, but these both gain 5 stacks for killing an enemy god, whereas they gain just 1 for killing a enemy minion. So minions and jungle camps are good to farm stacks, but if you really want to get a lot of stacks really fast, killing enemy gods is where it's at. And there's no better feeling. I have never done that in a game, but there's no better feeling than killing somebody outright in 1 shot with your ultimate. I've seen it done. I've had it done to me, and it's infuriating, but yeah, this Ra is just a pushover, but you can probably tell some of his combos. You move in with your whirlpool, you close in on somebody, and then you can either use your tidal surge, your trident, or your kraken if you have it available. So, I'm going to wait till I get to full stacks, and then I'm going to call this a video. So, as I said before, Poseidon is my favorite god in Smite. He has so much potential. There's lots of ways you can build him. This is just one way you can build him. I've seen him built other ways that have kicked my butt quite soundly, which I respect. And so, if you want to play Smite, I will put a link in the description below to the Hi-Rez website, where you can download the game for free and play for free. It does have purchasable content, but it's not required to purchase. It is a free-to-play game that is really fun, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for a good, fast-paced, action, fantasy genre video game. And, well, I'm going to be trying to do more for general gaming on my channel, not just Minecraft. I will still be doing lots of Minecraft, and that's still going to be my primary focus, but I'm going to be doing more of Smite and hopefully some League of Legends, Strife, other MOBA-type games that I really like, in addition to possibly getting into Spore and Command & Conquer, Guild Wars 2, other games like that. So if you want to see, if you like what you see, obviously, and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. I always like a new addition to the VDC, the Villager Defense Corps. And as always, a like and a comment will be greatly appreciated. I always appreciate a like, and I will always try to reply to your comments, if they're relevant and not trolling, obviously. I hate trolling. So, from me and Poseidon and the Kraken, I will see you all later.